animals. Thank you for being with us and to defend them in that live stream chat. Please put 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded and you're a kind person, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. Our disclaimer here today is that we're not here to cause alarm, harassment, distress or any form of intimidation. We're here today for our freedom of speech, our right to assembly, our right to protest, and we're here today to protest against this evil industry. This facility here executes cows, dairy cows and beef cows, cows exploited for their bodies, cows exploited for their secretions, and we're here today to show you, the consumer, the reality and the truth. Now notice that the camera on the top hand side is pointing down the road. Well, today we've come from a different way. We've come from a different way. Always keep these industries on the back foot, always keep them guessing, never let them know. Security's already there on the gate. They already anticipated our arrival because they know that we will never stop, we will never give in. All the time they're exploiting animals here. We will be here to show the world, wow, the smell here, the reality and the truth. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. For context, guys, this place smells so bad here today. There are animals already inside the facility behind me who have been driven in here to be executed today for optional products. We're here today in collaboration with Animal Aid. Go to the description, press the top link and go to Animal Aid's investigation pages. You can go and see all of the investigations that Animal Aid have conducted all over the UK. You can see that Animal Aid have done a report on the very slaughterhouse, ABP Guildford, that we're stood outside here live today, bringing you the reality and the transparency that the industry don't want you to know. 1 in the chat if you're vegan and you've already removed your support for this violence. 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations and you have a good heart. 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals, if you believe that animals are here for you to exploit in any which way you see fit. Now looking up over the top here, we're going to show you inside of a slaughterhouse here inside the UK. Right now this is live here at ABP. That truck on the left is now in the washdown area. They'll be washing out all of the feces because as these animals are transported in these trucks to these slaughterhouses, they are shitting and pissing themselves in fear, just like you would, because they have a fight and flight response system, because they're sentient beings. They're having a subjective experience of their life. They have the ability to suffer and feel pain. Therefore, when they're put on a truck and their fear-induced terror kicks in, their bodies just dump whatever is in their stomachs. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. It's really, really important that you double tap the stream to like the live stream. We need over 100 likes as fast as possible to get the room spinning, so when the trucks turn up with the animals are seen by the world. We're here today not to judge anyone. This is our second disclaimer. We're not here to clash or point fingers at non-vegans and say that we're better people because we're vegan and you're not. We're not here to say you're a bad person because you're not vegan. We're here today to come alongside you and turn your head against the industry who have lied to you. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a good person, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. Subscribe, hit the bell, double tap the stream. Now what I mean by turn your head against the industry is you're a good person and the industry have marketed this evil to you in such a way that you're indoctrinated, you're conditioned to never think about it, you're conditioned to never critically think, you're conditioned to always believe whatever the hype tells you, believe the status quo. We're here today to challenge that. We're here with a camera live to bring you the reality and truth. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, spam the 1s. 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations, and 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. Make sure you double tap the stream, like, share and subscribe. There are 2 trucks in there.
What are they doing
2 trucks in there.
What's the security just done on that gate?
This security here has just put this gate onto manual. As always, this gate is actually an automatic gate. They push a button and it's on an electric runner. But because the industry aren't transparent, because the industry don't want you to see, they put this gate on manual and they push it and pull it because they can open and close it faster. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. Make sure you've subscribed and you've double tapped the stream to like it. Now this industry prides itself on transparency, right? Prides itself on British standards, FSA rules, regulations, welfare, animal welfare, all that other BS, right? It prides itself on it. In fact, it markets itself to you, the consumer, using their very values. But guess what? When you come here and ask for transparency, you're not met with transparency. You're met with spike fences. You're met with CCTV. You're met with security guards who are rushing animals in. If this industry was so transparent, what would be the problem in you seeing the animals before they go in there to be killed? 1 in the chat if you're vegan. 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to why we're here today outside of a slaughterhouse live. 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. Double tap the stream, like, share and subscribe. Let us know where you're from. Please remember that we're not here to clash with you. We're here to come alongside you and turn your head against the industry. There is no transparency. This industry behind me is a business. It is not the bedrock of civilization. It is not any sort of foundations that we need. Animal farmers are not people who should be praised for the work they do for the society. Animal farmers are business owners, and they market their business to the consumer in the way to optimize their profit. And in doing so, innocent animals are sent to slaughterhouses to die. We're here today in collaboration with Animal Aid. Go into the description, press the link at the top of the description, and go and look at Animal Aid's investigation pages. You'll see this isn't just one bad place. This is systemic violence. This is happening all over the world, all over the UK. We're here today to bring you and force the transparency to the consumer. If the industry will not let you know the truth, we will let you know the truth. And what I mean by that is, for example, before I tell you the next thing, 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. When I talk about demanding the truth, did you know that cows only produce milk because they're mums? Did you know that males in the dairy industry are taken away from their mums and executed because the dairy industry deemed them a waste product? Did you know that piglets at 6 months old are gassed in CO2 gas chambers? 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person and you're wondering why we're outside of a slaughterhouse live today. 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals and you're anti-vegan. Double tap the stream and please subscribe. Did you know that male chicks in the egg industry are deemed a waste product like the male calves in the dairy industry? They get put inside of a macerator on the first day of life. The minute they're born, they're put inside of an open blender and blended up alive. Little yellow chicks that everyone loves to rejoice over at Easter and go, oh, look at the little yellow chick, aren't they so cute? Blender for them if you buy eggs. That's the industry you're supporting. And you probably never even knew that. Now, what I'm saying to you is, why did you not know that? Because the transparency from the industry is not there. Because if the industry was transparent, the consumer would know the reality and the truth, and anyone with half a brain or half an ounce of compassion would remove themselves from that industry. And that means a number 2 going to a number 1 and becoming vegan and not funding it personally. 1 in the chat if you're vegan and you've already removed your support for this violence. 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're a kind person with an open mind and an open heart and you're wondering why we're outside of a slaughterhouse live today. 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals and you believe that animals can be here for you to do whatever you want with. Please double tap the stream, like, share and subscribe. We are not here to rage bait. We are not here to clickbait. We are not here to clash, to point fingers and to be mean. We're here to show you the truth. That is all.
Someone just said Mel and Steve lie, it's not the truth. What would you say to that?
This is the truth. We're here live streaming. This is why we live stream, because this is the truth. It is 20 to 11 here in the UK right now on a Thursday morning, late morning. We're here live streaming to show you the truth. We don't need to lie. The industry lies. In fact, the industry, I'll tell you after this, 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded, bang the 2s in there and the 1s in there, and 3s in the chat if you are anti-vegan, if you're an animal abuser and you believe that animals can be exploited however you see fit. If you want to talk about lying, the industry itself uses lies, smoke and mirrors to keep the consumer paying for these products. The industry itself tells you it's humane, tells you that it's ethical. The industry itself uses things like free range or organic to lie to the consumer so the consumer thinks that everything's fine. The industry itself uses things like the RSPCA Assured scheme, uses things like the Red Tractor certification to lie to the public, because when the members of the public see the RSPCA Assured logo, they believe that everything must be all okay. Well, let me tell you that the RSPCA Assured stamp of approval is on gas-chambered piglets at 6 months old using CO2 gas. If you don't believe me, go and watch Pigment on Amazon Prime and see the truth. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations and why we're live outside of a gas chamber. 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. Double tap the stream, like, share and subscribe. Remember, we're not here to clash. We're here to tell you the truth and not apologize for it, because at the end of this truth, animals are losing their lives. Let me swap in with Mel and let you take over for a bit.
Yeah, like Steve said, animals are losing their lives today. Every single day, slaughterhouses run. I'm at a slaughterhouse right now here in the UK where they kill cows from the dairy industry. They kill cows from the beef industry. These animals are 2 different breeds of cows, because one, they're genetically modified to have so much milk that they want to sell to everybody and make so much profit from, and the other one they've genetically modified to grow larger so people can kill them and get more flesh from them. How disgusting is that? It's the start of a horror movie. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you are not vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream, guys. Please like, comment, share. Please ask questions. We'll be looking at the chat as well today, but right now there are 2 trucks behind these evil gates of hell at this slaughterhouse. 2 trucks that had animals on, grieving mothers from the dairy industry who had their babies stolen from them, taken away from them over and over and over, and then cows from the beef industry who were taken from their mum, taken and sentenced to a slaughterhouse without going to experience a knife in the throat. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you are not vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you are anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream and subscribe. I am here outside this slaughterhouse, but the other day I was outside a gas chamber. I was outside a gas chamber where they gas piglets at 6 months old, and like Steve said, the RSPCA approved that. They make money off these industries, so the animals only have vegans. That's all they have fighting for them. That's all they have, because if you're someone who loves animals but you're not vegan yet, currently you're a hypocrite, but you may not understand the industries. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you are anti-vegan. Double tap this live, please subscribe.
People are saying that cows aren't killed for dairy.
Yeah, I thought the same. It's not your fault that you don't know that, but every single cow in the dairy industry is killed. Every single baby that is born male is taken away and killed. Every single female that is born is put in an isolation hutch. Let me explain the dairy industry in a moment. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Please double tap this live stream and subscribe. So the dairy industry starts with forcible impregnation. What they do is they have a cow and they get the cow into what you call a cattle crush, and the cow basically is in a cage. They can't escape, they can't move back, they can't move forward and left and right. The farmer then puts this massive glove on up to his shoulder or her shoulder and forces himself or herself inside the cow to make her pregnant. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you're not vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream and subscribe. What he does then, waits 9 months for her to give birth to her baby. If she gives birth to a male, he comes in or she comes in and takes her child from her. They kidnap her baby. This is what these cows have to endure. Her baby is taken and killed if they're male. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Please double tap this live stream. Please subscribe, comment and share. We are outside different slaughterhouses all the time to bring you the truth. We are not here to hate on you. We're here purely to show you the reality of what happens to these dear animals who need you more than anything in this world right now. Once she has had her baby taken away from her, she is then separated and put into intensively milked. She gets things like infections like mastitis. If someone has given birth on this live stream, you're a parent, you'll know what mastitis is like if you've had that. Very painful infection. And you know what they still do? They continue to milk her. And then when her production starts to decline, they make her pregnant again. She then loses her baby again, over and over and over. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan.
Who are you here with today?
Yeah, double tap this live stream and subscribe. We're here today in collaboration with Animal Aid. They've actually done a report on this place, on the FSA report, where they were misuse of equipment on the animals, not stunning animals correctly, unhygienic. But even if this place adhered to the animal welfare standard, it's still wrong. There's no right way to kill someone who doesn't want to die. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live and subscribe.
People are saying what animals are in there.
Cows from the dairy industry. How is it that I'm standing at a slaughterhouse right now where they have cows being stabbed in the throat behind this place? Behind these gates, there is moral crimes taking place. Moral crimes. They're stabbing sentient individuals who are like childlike beings. In fact, they are children in there. 18 months old. 18 months old those beef cows are. Around 3 years old those mother cows are. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, and 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream and subscribe. I'm not here hating on you guys in the live. Thank you for being in this live stream. I speak with rage, I speak with passion and fury because I'm defending somebody else. I'm defending the animals who are being stabbed right now. This is an urgent thing. This is the most urgent issue of our time, is to be vegan and to defend the animals, stop paying for these industries.
What made you vegan?
The dairy industry. I saw Joey Carbstrong, an incredible activist, debating someone about dairy. I didn't know what there was debated about dairy because I thought cows just produce milk and that was that. I didn't know the exploitation. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but not vegan yet, 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream and subscribe. I'm at a slaughterhouse right now. That is what I saw when I went vegan. I saw a mother cow inside one of these places having her throat slit by 2 men. Bolt gun in the head, throat slit, bolt gun in the head, throat slit. Let me tell you this, she could feel everything. So it stinks. It stinks here. You cannot explain the smell of a slaughterhouse until you come to a place like this. You cannot explain the feelings that you feel until you've looked an innocent individual in the eyes before they're sentenced to death, before they get a knife stabbed in their throat.
Who's in them trucks?
Right now, on the left, they're washing down a truck that had cows in from the dairy industry or the beef industry. What happens when someone is so like fearful and scared, their autonomic nervous system kicks in, which means they basically get rid of everything in their body so they can escape danger faster. That's why these trucks need to be washed down every single time, because they are weeing and pooing everywhere in fear. That's why there's a line of stained poo and wee on the floor here. It's evil. It's evil, and if you don't think this place is evil, go and watch Dominion. See the reality for yourself. See what happens to these childlike beings who didn't do anything wrong. I'm at a slaughterhouse right now in this facility behind me. There are cows being killed in this facility behind me. Who the hell do we think we are to be doing this to animals? Who the hell do we think we are as a species to put them in such horrific positions? Every single animal farmer, in my opinion, should be in prison for what they do. The moral crimes they commit upon the animals are the worst in history, and that's ever happened upon somebody else ever in this world. 90 billion animals every single year are forced into existence and killed. In my opinion, that's murder. That's premeditated murder. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live stream and subscribe. Did you know that in the egg industry, male chicks do not produce eggs? What do you think they do with the male chicks? They send them to a gas chamber or they blend them up alive in a macerator. How evil. That's our species. Stand up against the evil species that we are and be the good version of a human. Be vegan and defend the animals with everything you have. You have a duty to look, that you have a duty to change, that you have a duty to fight with every ounce of breath and strength that you have. There's no burnout days. There's no, I can't be bothered. There's no, oh, you know what, it's raining today. The animals are being killed regardless of how you feel. You've got to do something about it no matter what. 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're open-minded but you aren't vegan yet, 3 in the chat if you're anti-vegan. Double tap this live, please subscribe. I'm at a slaughterhouse right now. Behind me they kill cows from the dairy industry. Yes, every single cow from the dairy industry is murdered. Every single cow has pregnancy forced upon her. Every single cow gets killed around 3 to 4 years old, if not younger. You know what they do when a cow cannot stand up anymore because she's produced so much milk and she's been depleted of so much nutrients? They shackle her legs. They shackle her legs, they drag her to the milking parlour and they drain every last ounce of milk out of her, and then they send her to a slaughterhouse to be killed, to be stabbed in the throat. I bet you didn't know this. I bet you didn't know that cows, 20% of them go to slaughter pregnant. Still, 20% are still pregnant. I'm just going to switch in with Steve quick.
Guys, 1 in the chat if you're vegan, 2 in the chat if you're not vegan but you're open-minded to these conversations, 3 in the chat if you don't care about animals. We're here today in collaboration with Animal Aid. Animal Aid, I've got a link in the description. Go there and go and see the investigations that they've done all across slaughterhouses in the UK, showing you, the consumer, the reality and the truth. The industry won't show you the truth. We're here to force it so that you do then have the education to make an educated decision. Right now, if you're buying animal products, if you're buying products tested on animals, if you're wearing animal skins, then you haven't been educated on the industry that have exploited that individual for that product. If you have been educated on that industry and then you continue to pay for it, this is when you're an anti-vegan. And number 3, if you haven't been educated and you're buying them products right now, you're a number 2. You're a non-vegan who is kind, potentially has compassion, but you just don't know yet. This is why we're here today, to bring the education, to bring the reality and bring the truth. We are not here to point fingers, to clash with you, or to, you know, cause enemies. We're here to turn your head against this industry. One in the chat if you're vegan, two in the chat if you're not vegan, but you're open-minded, and three if you don't care about animals. Make sure that you double tap the stream. Animals will be turning up here today. Animals will be coming here any minute. When these animals come in, we want you to look them in the eyes. We want you to see them, but we also want you to see that this industry will do everything that they can to hide the truth and hide the reality. They're not transparent with the public whatsoever. You never stand a chance of doing the right thing. I keep looking to this way because this is where the trucks are coming and this is where they're going to be coming from today. Have you got any questions in the chat? Anyone want to ask anything?
Where do you get your protein from?
Protein comes from plants. When you can choose ingredients that don't scream inside slaughterhouses, then that is the moral obligation to do so. It's as simple as that.